Right now, somewhere on the bottom of the ocean, a single dragging ship anchor could cut off an entire country's internet in seconds. Not slow it down, cut it off. Because almost everything you think lives in the cloud actually lives in a fragile glass thread lying in the dark, 2 miles underwater. Here's the part nobody tells you. The modern world isn't held up by anything you can see. It's held up by a handful of weird, invisible systems that are one bad day away from chaos. We're counting down the strangest ones keeping you alive right now, and the final one is so concentrated in one place that a single factory going dark could freeze the entire planet's technology. Stick around for that. Let's start under the sea. According to telegeography, there are over 650 submarine cable systems, carrying roughly 99% of all intercontinental internet traffic. Not satellites, cables. Thin fiber optic lines stretched across entire ocean floors. And they break constantly. Fishing trawlers snag them. Earthquakes snap them. Anchors drag right through them. Recent incidents in the Baltic Sea and around Taiwan left island communities offline for weeks. Weeks? Think about that. The thing you use to argue with strangers online is basically a garden hose on the seabed that any boat captain can accidentally murder. And here's where it gets stranger, because to break your internet, you don't even need a cable, you just need to mess with time. Welcome to GPS. You think GPS is for finding the nearest taco place? Wrong. According to NASA, the GPS constellation reached full operation in the early 1990s, and every satellite carries an atomic clock. That timing signal is the secret master clock of civilization. Banks timestamp trades with it. Power grids synchronize with it. Cell towers depend on it. A NIST technical note from 2021 found that huge chunks of critical infrastructure rely on GPS timing with barely any backup. And the signal reaching your phone is weaker than a candle seen from miles away. It can be jammed, it can be spoofed. So a system designed for missiles is now quietly preventing your bank from melting down, and almost nobody knows it. Speaking of things nobody knows, let's talk about why you're even alive to watch this. In 1909, a chemist named Fritz Haber figured out how to pull nitrogen straight out of thin air and turn it into ammonia. Carl Bosch scaled it into industry within a few years. That single process, Haber-Bosch, is why we have synthetic fertilizer. And according to widely cited analyses by Václav Smil, that fertilizer feeds roughly half the people alive today. Half. Around 150 to 200 million tons of nutrients move every year. Here's the kicker. It runs almost entirely on natural gas. So a chemistry demo from over a century ago powered by fossil fuel prices is the only reason billions of people aren't starving. No pressure. Now let me ask you something. Have you noticed a theme yet? Every single one of these is invisible, ancient, and held together by basically one fragile thread. We don't run the world, we're balancing on top of it. Which brings us to the boring-looking object that secretly built globalization. A steel box. On April 26, 1956, a converted tanker called the Ideal X carried the first modern shipping containers. That's it. A standardized metal box. But that box made moving goods so cheap that the entire global economy reorganized around it. Today, containers carry the overwhelming majority of manufactured goods by sea, and it's brutally fragile. In 2021, one ship got stuck sideways in the Suez Canal, and global trade lost billions per day. One box's worth of bad steering, and the whole planet's shopping cart froze. Now flip the lights on, because none of this works without the most invisible system of all. The power grid runs on a heartbeat. Big AC grids hold a shared frequency, 50 or 60 hertz, and every generator has to stay perfectly in sync. Fall out of phase and protective relays trip to save themselves, which can cascade into darkness. On August 14, 2003, the Northeast blackout cascaded across the US and Canada and knocked out power for tens of millions of people. The trigger? Local line faults and operators who didn't see it coming. The entire eastern half of a continent went dark because a few systems lost their rhythm. And as we swap big spinning generators for renewables, that rhythm gets harder to hold. So the light staying on isn't a guarantee. It's a continuous, frantic balancing act you never see. And speaking of things pretending to be effortless, let's bust the biggest myth of all: the cloud. There is no cloud. The IEA estimates data centers burned around 240 to 340 terawatt hours of electricity. In 2022, over 1% of global electricity. The cloud is just enormous warehouses full of humming machines, drinking electricity and cooling water connected by fiber. And here's the wild part. Companies like Google and Meta now own their own private undersea cables. The cloud isn't software floating in the sky. It's a physical empire of buildings and pipes, and a few companies quietly own the roads between continents. Which finally brings us to number one, the system so concentrated that one bad day could freeze all of it. The most advanced computer chips on Earth, the ones in your phone, your car, every data center can only be made using one specific machine: extreme ultraviolet lithography. And according to ASML's own filings, ASML is effectively the only company on the planet that can build them. Each machine costs tens to hundreds of millions of dollars and takes months to deliver. The supply chain runs through a tiny cluster of suppliers in a handful of countries, with the leading-edge factories concentrated heavily in Taiwan. The 2020 to 2022 chip shortage already showed what happens. Car factories shut down worldwide over a few missing chips, which is why governments panicked and passed things like the US CHIPS Act. So here's the loop I promised. The most powerful civilization in history, your entire digital life, sits on a single category of machine that one company makes, in factories clustered in one corner of the world. That's not a backup plan. That's a high-wire act with no net. So the next time someone tells you the modern world is unstoppable, remember the truth. It's not strong. It's a magic trick, balanced on glass threads, atomic clocks, steel boxes, and one irreplaceable machine. We don't control any of it. We're just lucky it hasn't fallen yet. If this rewired how you see the world, you'll never believe how close we came to losing all of it during the Cold War. Go watch that next.